In 1998, a summer thunderstorm rolled over a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. When it passed, a 10-year-old boy named Ethan Anderson was gone, vanished from his own home. When the first responders arrived, they found the front door unlocked and ajar. Inside, the television was still on, casting a flickering glow across the empty living room, playing Ethan's favorite Saturday morning cartoon. But the boy himself was nowhere to be found. The mystery of what happened that night would haunt the community for decades, leaving behind more questions than answers and a story that feels more like folklore than a real-life event. The Anderson family lived a peaceful life on the outskirts of Portland. Their son, Ethan, was a creative and slightly unusual child. While other kids might be scared of storms, Ethan was fascinated by them. He had a deep love for drawing, and his favorite subject was the raw power of nature. He would spend hours sitting by his bedroom window, a sketchbook in his lap, tracing the jagged patterns of lightning as they ripped across the sky. His parents, like any parents, would gently scold him, telling him to move away from the glass, but Ethan was captivated. He saw beauty where others saw danger. On the night he disappeared, the storm arrived with unexpected fury. Weather reports had predicted rain, but not this, one of the most violent electrical storms the region had seen all year. Ethan's mother, in her later statements to police, recalled checking on him around 9 p.m. She found him in his room, exactly where she expected him to be. He was at his small desk by the window, colored pencils scattered around him, sketching away as the thunder rumbled in the distance. He looked up at her and smiled. It was the last time she would ever see him. At precisely 9:27 p.m., the entire neighborhood was plunged into darkness. The power grid had failed. In the sudden, oppressive silence that followed the outage, several neighbors reported hearing a single, bizarre sound. It wasn't the familiar crack of thunder, it was something sharper, more distinct. They described it as the sound of a massive tree splitting clean in half, a violent tearing noise that seemed to come from the direction of the Andersons' house. The power returned just 15 minutes later, but in that short window of darkness, the world had changed forever. When Ethan's parents went to check on him, their worst fears were realized. His room was empty. The window, which had been closed earlier, was now wide open, the curtains fluttering in the damp, post-storm breeze. Rain had blown in, soaking the carpet and the papers on his floor. Among them was his sketchbook, left open to a chilling page. The drawing was frantic, almost scribbled, but the words were clear. In a child's handwriting, it read, "The Lightning Man is outside." The search for Ethan Anderson began immediately and was one of the most intensive in the state's history. Police, volunteers, and K-9 units combed every inch of the surrounding area for weeks. The search dogs picked up Ethan's scent and followed a clear trail from the back of the house down to a small, rushing creek nearby. But there, at the water's edge, the trail just stopped. It ended abruptly with no indication of where he could have gone next. There were no footprints in the soft mud, no signs of a struggle, and no evidence that anyone else had been there. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. Back at the house, investigators were just as baffled. The home showed no signs of a break-in or forced entry. Nothing was stolen. The only anomaly they could find was in Ethan's room. On the wall, right next to the open window, was a strange, thin black mark scorched into the paint. It looked like a burn, but its shape was what unnerved everyone who saw it. It was unmistakably the shape of a handprint, long and slender, as if someone had leaned against the wall while superheated. It defied logical explanation. The case grew even stranger when a local storm chaser came forward with his own account. He lived a few blocks away and had been filming the storm that night. He told police he'd seen something highly unusual. "I saw a flash hit right behind that house," he explained, "but it wasn't normal lightning. It was too steady. It didn't flicker and die. It held for a second or two, bright and white, almost like a spotlight from the sky." His observation, combined with the handprint in the sketchbook, painted a picture that was far beyond a typical missing person case. Years passed. The Andersons, broken by the loss of their only child and the endless unanswered questions, finally sold their home in 2013. They couldn't bear to live with the constant reminders of that night. The new owners decided to do some renovations, starting with the old dated wallpaper in the bedrooms. As they peeled back the paper in what used to be Ethan's room, something fell to the floor. It was another one of Ethan's drawings, hidden away for 15 years. This drawing was more detailed, more complete than the one found in the sketchbook. It depicted a tall, impossibly thin figure that seemed to be made entirely of crackling blue-white lightning. Standing next to this ethereal being was a small boy, clearly meant to be Ethan, holding a flashlight. The boy in the drawing wasn't scared. He looked curious, even excited. And at the bottom of the page, written in shaky, almost reverent handwriting, was a final, haunting message. He said he'd take me where storms never end. To this day, not a single trace of Ethan Anderson has ever been found. The official case remains open but cold, filed away as an unsolved disappearance. Some people in the town hold on to the most logical explanation, that he was a troubled kid who ran away from home and met an unfortunate end. But others, the ones who remember the intensity of that storm and the strangeness of the evidence, believe something else entirely. They believe the storm itself took him, in a way that science and logic can't explain. And even now, when dark clouds gather over that old neighborhood and the thunder begins to roll, some locals will swear that if you listen closely enough, you can still hear the faint, distant sound of a child laughing in the rain. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the unexplained. What do you think happened to Ethan Anderson? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories that blur the line between reality and the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss our next video. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.